Coast of California. Basically, I'm kind of like the home doctor, an internet home doctor for homeowners. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit. This is my introduction to the first video. We're going to talk a little bit about what home inspections are and a little bit about my services as well. However, the series won't be about me so much as about you. I'm looking forward to receiving emails with pictures and descriptions of your homes. Let me know questions you have, things that don't look right, or maybe you just have a question wondering, hey, should this be this way or should I get it replaced or repaired? I'd be happy to give you my opinion, and that's all it is, mind you, is an opinion because I'm on the internet. So I'll do the best I can to look at your pictures and descriptions and try to answer accordingly. On the bottom of your emails, if you'd please include a little note saying, hey, it's okay to use my information online, I'd sure appreciate it. That allows me to say your first name, where you're from approximately, and then talk a little bit about the situation you have. I promise I won't share last names and things like that and addresses. More just, more information the better, to be able to share the problems that people are having and the solutions I can provide, or hopefully we can provide together. Anyway, this is my the homepage for the website, homeinspectionsbyken.com. The email, of course, ken@homeinspectionsbyken.com. The Ken referred to is, of course, me. I was actually an insurance home inspector for a number of years out in the East Coast. And also a home inspector. I'm now a home inspector here. Do both as well here in California. Now, there is a big difference between home inspections and insurance inspections, and that's basically who I'm there for. For a home inspection, I'm there for the home buyer or seller, so I represent them. For a insurance inspection, of course, I'm for the insurance company, so we're looking for different items, and we'll do a video later on that to explain a little bit more. In the meantime, the website, homeinspectionsbyken.com, as you can see, tells a little bit about what we do. That's as far as the services I provide and the whole 9 yards. We also have a picture on the story, tells a little bit about me, and there's my beautiful little now 5-year-old daughter. We also do a pre-sale 5-point inspection. This is great if you're selling your home or if you're working with a realtor. The idea is for you to be able to have it's less exhaustive than a regular home inspection, but it gives you the opportunity to show what's right and wrong with the home in advance, especially if you have a clean bill of health, so that when the prospective buyer comes in, they can concentrate more on the home selling features rather than the possible problems of the home. And that's a real important selling tool that you might be able to use. Of course, you can just schedule an appointment with me anytime. There's some videos that are on there for you, as well as a calendar. Home Inspections by Ken, what secrets is your new home hiding? Talk a little bit about some of the things that we find in homes, new and old, believe it or not. And of course, helpful resources. This is an area where we talk about recall information, for instance, for appliances, foreclosure purchase information from This Old House, CNNRealtor.com, tips for choosing a contractor. That's from About Home, DIY, and Energy Star. Again, realize when you're hiring a contractor, you want to make sure that person is as astute as possible and good as possible. And even ones like the blank lists, and what have you, those vendors online that, quote, give you great referral people to work for, great contractors. Some of them are terrific and some of them maybe not so much. A lot of those lists require nothing more than that person's check to clear in order to be certified under them. So let's be careful with that as well. Home safety. We go with the NFPA, Reader's Digest, and FEMA. These are information regarding how to make your home safer for you and your loved ones. California real estate law and resources information, and also county recorder's property search. Why do I have that in there? You ever watch the flip shows, those flipping shows, I won't name the names on the different networks, but basically those flipping shows show people buying homes and then finding out later, for instance, that back room, that 4-bedroom, 3-bath home, the back room actually isn't permitted, and suddenly it's a 2-bath or 2-bedroom, 1-bath home. That can really affect a lot, and unfortunately, in those situations, a lot of times you'll have to tear down that addition and redo it and or live without it from then on out. So it is important to keep those in mind as well and make sure that the things that are in the home are actually permitted. And that's a great tool to find out about. There we go. You can tell there's a big high budget, high production value show here. Just me. Alrighty. Well, first of all, let's talk about certification, because you want to know what a home inspection is. Let's first talk about who can be a home inspector. The answer might surprise you, because that is anybody, at least in California. Now, in North Carolina, they required you to take a huge, very difficult national test. And there was a governing body, state governing body, that actually regulated home inspectors. Here in California, the place that is so regulated, it's ridiculous, some people say, there is no regulation. It's brilliant. You could be a home inspector tomorrow. That's right. You could be a home inspector. I should be doing training on that. You could be a home inspector tomorrow. The fact is, anyone can hang a shingle at any time in California. There is no governing body, if you would, regulatory body that oversees home inspections. So you have to be really careful who you hire. I guess I usually take 2 or 3 hours to do a home inspection, charge about $300 or so for a 1,200 square foot house to do it. I've heard of some that charge $75, and they end up being there a half hour for the home. Again, if I was going to my doctor's office, I'd want to make sure they took as much time possible with me, like the old days, rather than now where they just, you feel like you're herded in and out. Same thing with home inspections. It is a visual inspection of your home. It is not a code enforcement thing, nothing like that. It is a visual inspection of your home. So it's really important to understand that the more we see, the more we can report on. The more time we're there, the more exposure we have to your house, the more we can report on. Pricing wise, again, I'm at $300 or so for a 1,200 square foot house. I've heard of people that do upwards of $700 to $1,200 minimum for an inspection on a home. Remember, again, what you pay isn't always what you get. It really is more the knowledge that inspector has and the time they take at your home. You don't want someone doing 20 inspections a day. They can't do it. You can maybe do 2 at most a day. Personally, I offer 24 hours turnaround usually on my reports, and usually I'm available for an inspection within 24 to 48 hours of a phone call received. So I get out relatively quick and give it to you relatively quick. I use a software program called Home Inspector Pro to provide the report. Most inspectors use some sort of software these days with tablets and what have you. Basically, the pictures you take off the tablet go directly in the report. It's nice. You don't have to do as much editing and everything before turning in a report. But that said, there are also canned responses in some of those software packages for the problems found on site that might not necessarily be really that friendly to a layman, you or me, so to speak, or a person who wasn't an inspector, I should say. So I like to use more verbose things. I don't use those canned responses so much. I like to type out more and tell people what they're doing. I also add video a lot of times to my inspections. I believe it's important for things like, for instance, you have an issue with your grading on your property. The hill is going down and the wall is going up like this. Here's the hill. I can't even get it right. It's hard to see in the camera. Here's the hill. Here's the house. It's going downhill, so the water goes down towards the house. That's a grading issue. And to explain that simply by saying, hey, if you got a grading problem, might not make sense to you, the homeowner. But to do a video on it, a little short, 20-second video with narrative saying, hey, look, this is what I'm seeing. The water might be coming down this way. It looks like it might be getting on the house. It always helps. So I like to be as verbose as possible. I'm here for you, the buyer or seller, whoever's hiring me. Also, as far as participating in the inspection as a home buyer or seller, I personally really encourage it. I believe the report I give you at the end is a summary of what I found. I can't possibly be as verbose, I don't think, in that report as I could with you personally with me. So as long as we're not in the basement, not in the crawl space or the attic, places that might have danger, I really encourage people to come with me on those inspections so I can explain as I go along. And matter of fact, a lot of times, I'll tell you it's funny, but a lot of times the home buyer or seller will bring up items to me that I might not have seen right off the bat. So it's really important to have them with you, and you can answer questions on the fly. The more questions I can answer on an inspection, I feel the more satisfied the homeowner will be and the more confident they'll be in their decision, whether it be to purchase the house or not, or to renegotiate with repairs, etc. Also, we talked about those lists of those contractors on earlier. I'll say this. Best practices tells us, again, we're not code enforcement, we're best practices, air quotes, best practices enforcement, if you would, meaning the best things for the home, so to speak. I guess you would say the best way to build, the best way to do, etc. With that said, I will say that many home inspectors don't like people coming with them on inspections, and I really do. Again, I love people to come with me. I strongly encourage, I've got a lot of inspectors I've talked to, and I don't want those people around me. Leave me alone, let me do my job. Again, I want to be able to answer questions on the fly. I want to make sure that you are as comfortable as possible with the buying process of your home. So, with that in mind, next question is certification. Actually, we kind of went over that a little bit. Certification. anyone can be certified. Going back, there is no governing body in California. However, there are certifying agencies, private agencies, that we choose to go through. InterNACHI is the one I'm with, for instance, or there's CREA and ASHI and others. These regulating bodies, if you will, California has basically offshored that responsibility to these guys so far. Even though legislation is still in the process, you might see some regulation eventually on the industry. But right now, they rely mostly on, again, companies like CREA, ASHI, and InterNACHI. How do you become certified? That's a good one. When InterNACHI started, my understanding is it was pretty simple. It was almost, hey, you pay and you're in, just like I told you before. However, they've gotten a lot more difficult now. I chose to go through them because they have excellent training. You have to take their classes. You have to learn. You have to test constantly. You have to keep up your education, take X amount of units per year to keep your knowledge up because things are changing all the time in the industry. So I think that's really important. Other agents or other regulating bodies, well, some of them say, hey, give us your check. If it clears, yeah, you're certified. Just send us 5 or 10, of your reports as you go along, and we'll just sort of go over and make sure you're doing the right thing. So be careful, please. Years in the industry matter. Certifications matter. Make sure you ask a lot of questions. Don't get ripped off. And also, the best inspectors can have a bad day too. So I got to say that as well. We are all human. It's what we see is what we report. It's important to find an inspector who constantly keeps up on education, like what InterNACHI requires, who takes classes, who keeps up to why. Well, let's say for instance, plumbing, PB plumbing, polybutane, I think it's called plumbing. At the time it was brought out, it was supposed to be the best thing since sliced bread. Kind of looks gray, almost like a PVC, but it's gray. Well, it ends up, it's got a lot of bad issues. Pinholes occur. It fails. Insurance companies call it a major hazard because of it, and they're doing replacements left and right of the stuff, recalls, etc. You have to keep up in training to know that, because everything, believe me, everything in the building industry that's put out is the best thing since sliced bread. It's marketing. It's like the drug commercials. It heals everything. Same thing here too. Hey, we have the best piping, the best electrical wire. Hey, this new stuff is great. For instance, in the 70s when they came out with aluminum wiring. What a great idea! Until you realize that the aluminum pieces of wiring that you're having then go to copper. The expansion-contraction ratios on those two metals are different. It causes the aluminum screws to loosen, and eventually once you get that space between the contacts, you get heat, and they cause fires. So aluminum is one of those things that they thought was a great idea at the time, and it really didn't end up being such a great idea. It ended up being quite costly, actually, to make it work. So things like that are important to look over and to watch for. Other than that, I think that's about it. Hopefully you have a better idea of what a home inspector is. Hopefully you have a better idea of what questions to ask a home inspector. And please call more than one. Call several. Remember that when you hire a home inspector, or whoever hires the home inspector, that home inspector is working for them. For instance, if a realtor hires me, yes, the buyer is my client, but technically the realtor is really my client. So who do you think, I'm not saying I do this, but in general, who do you think a home inspector would try to impress most? The person who's hiring them or the person that's buying the home? It'd be the person that's buying from them, especially if they're hoping for repeat business from realtors, which is where we get most of our work. So we got to be careful of that as well. We have to make sure that your inspector is willing to cite everything they see. Some realtors, could you kind of let that slide? Or boy, he's a little too picky. He cost me a sale. As long as the home inspector has the buyer of the home in mind, he or she should do a thorough job. And you have to remember that. They have to keep in mind who you're inspecting for. Even though it's the realtor, really it's the person moving into the house. And so personally, I like to be as thorough as possible. Worst case scenario, hey, why'd you put this, that, the other, that. It's okay because I saw it, because it's there. If it's not a big issue to the buyer, don't mention it. That's all. It's that simple. But otherwise, it's up to me to make sure I always cite things. So again, my name is Ken Woolsey, home inspector here in the beautiful central coast of California. Homeinspectionsbyken.com. And if I can get this thing to grab right, there it is. Homeinspectionsbyken.com. Also, remember, email me at ken homeinspectionsbyken.com. Send me your letters, pictures, video. Show me what questions you have in your home. I will be sure to do my best to answer for them. And again, on the bottom of that email, if you would please give me permission to use at least your first name and city, I'd appreciate it in the pictures. That way we make sure your privacy is continually held. Thank you so much. I look forward to hearing from you in the future.